you to have obedience to a fault.
Yeah.
Like straight up obedience, like nothing missing. Shalom obedience. Yeah. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Just, I'm just going to obey the blueprint.
Yeah.
I look at how many people I know that planted churches. And it bothered me because I said, God, why couldn't it have been like this? Why couldn't it have been like that? Why didn't I needed to wait? Maybe I should have waited. Maybe I should have. But God is saying, no, that's not what I told you to do.
Yeah.
Step out now. Do it now. Don't worry about anything else. So what you see is a product of me just sticking to the blueprint. Not deviating from anything that he said. Manna came to sustain them at a point in their life where sustaining was impossible. Scripture made it clear at the top that they were in the middle of the desert, a dry place, a desolate place, a place that caused you to thirst.
Wow.
They were at a place that called them to thirst. When you're in a dry season in your life, you're in a dry place. I tell people all the time who say they don't like water, Texas has the kind of heat that will make your taste buds crave nothing but H2O.
Yeah.
I don't care how much soda you like, how much, if you in Texas heat, you will not want soda, you want water. God will place you in a dry place in your life that will call you to be thirsty for what God wants you to have. He'll put you in a place of famine in your life that will cause you to be hungry for what He wants you to have. Some of you are in that place right now. And you're thinking that you need a little bit more. And God is saying, I'm dropping manna because this is what's necessary. This is necessary. Not what you think you want, not what you think you need. This right here is necessary. Then he tells him something. 6 day, 7 day. He says, hey, tell them to get an omer of manna and keep it in a jar so that they can show the generations to come how He sustained them in the middle of the wilderness. There's something that is in jelly and jam and different foods that last over time. These things, we know them to be preservatives. Pectin and sugars and honey were not used as preservatives back in that time. So how could it be that manna that spoiled immediately can be held together in a jar for generations to come? I submit to you that God has given you a preservative and it's called His Word. That if He speaks it, you can bottle it, you can cap it, you can keep it, you can hold it, and it will not decompose, it will not spoil, it will not go bad, won't let it happen to it, because He needs you to preserve the promise for generations to come. You gotta go through this. It gotta get like that. Because you gotta have something that you can hold on to and tell generations to come. I know what it looked like, but I remember about 20 years ago, He kept me. I remember about 5 years ago, I was about to lose my mind, but He kept me. I remember last year about this time, I was broken, I was hurting, I was disgusted, I was broke, but He kept me. And you gotta preserve the promise, man. You got to preserve what he gave you. I told a mother the other day, she asked me to pray for her son. And I said, I'll only pray for him if you get a little bit more excited. Because the way you just told me about your son makes me feel like you don't believe God can turn this thing around. And I said, if you want my prayer, you got to get a little excited. Let's lock our faith together, and we just don't believe God can do the impossible. Here's the thing. When God says it, he only has to say it once. If God already told you that he was going to bring this situation to pass, what's wrong with just trusting him instead of being tripping, instead of being stressed? Now, what's wrong with trusting? Here's the thing. A lot of us, we've tried everything else, but we really ain't tried trusting him yet.
Right.
What's wrong if you ain't got nothing to lose anyway? What's wrong with I'm just going to trust him?
Yeah.
He said, put an omer of this manna in the jar and keep it so that you can show the generations to come. Now, what constituted the manna to be kept? No preservatives. It was his word. The fact that he said, keep it, means the manna heard him, and the manna said, because master said we got to be kept, we bet not spoil, we bet not waste, we bet not get old, we bet not. And so they kept the jar of manna. Now here's what blew my mind. When you think about sacrifices as it related to wheat, and as it related to corn, and as it related to crops and harvest and bringing crops before people and bringing crops before kings, and there's two things you hear about. You hear about an ephah and you hear about an omer. An ephah is a bushel that every king wanted. He wanted a bushel of the goods. If you're going to bring something to me, bring me a bushel. I learned something that flipped me out about the omer. An omer was a tenth of the ephah. So really what God said was, sow into your future. He said, tithe 10% of what I did for you for generations to come. He could have said anything else, but he said, get an omer, get a tenth of what you have and keep it for the generations to come. Can I tell you something? That what God has promised you, what God has said to you, what God has whispered in your ear in the middle of the night, your taste buds, the way you see things, the way you think, God has a hand on you. He's promised you something. This morning, hear me, if you didn't hear nothing else, understand that you have to preserve that promise. We're talking about expecting the great. What's one way to expect the great? I've preserved what I know he wants to do for me. I've preserved what I know he's going to do through me. I've preserved it, so my expectation is locked up in what I've preserved. Oh man, y'all miss me. When you get jam or jelly and you open it up, you don't expect it not to be anything but jam or jelly, because you trust that the preservatives acted right no matter how long it's been on the shelf. You don't grab the jar and say, this jar looks like it may not be jelly in here, or it may not be jam in here. No, you say, they put it on the shelf, and because they put it on the shelf, that must mean it's good. So I'm going to take it home, pop it open, and use it.